Okay, I still gotta try to figure out how to get this focused on me a little bit. And yeah, this isn't working. Go with warm. Yeah, go with this, because I like this. This looks better. Anyway, try to adjust this as best I can. Hopefully. Trying to get myself in. Hold on. Oh, that's bad. I'm just now starting and already I'm messing up. But what's going on, guys? I know that it has been a while since I have been on camera. I had wanted to post this for the weekend. I had wanted to make an announcement, whatever you want to call it. This is more for people that did not get to hang out with me over the weekend and so on and so forth. And also, I thought, well, a lot of people I'm sure would have a lot of fun since I talked about that I was going to the convention. I waited so long simply out of the fact that I wanted to show all my fellow YouTubers and writers from 2K14 and so on and so forth, just do a thing with them, but apparently everybody's really, really busy, so I thought, well, I'll take care of it all at once, and I wanted to give myself some time, and I'm sorry if I'm picking my nose, but my nose is actually itching. I'm not really picking it, my nose is itching, but somebody must be talking about me. But I am here to talk about my very first con experience, which was, the Baltimore Comic Con 2014. I did not put the Baltimore part in there. I thought I did, but apparently looking at the live feed deal here, I didn't. But I did go to the Baltimore Comic Con, which that was a lot of fun for my first time going to a con ever in my life. Like it says, I will show you definitely the swag that I picked up, or at least a lot of it. Signed books, stories that I didn't get signed, but kind of just, were there. And I'm also, guys, going to talk about a lot of stories, a lot of the stories, that I got from, creators and artists and just generally, fun stuff. But I'm also going to talk emotionally why this is a journey and why this is kind of a fulfillment and why I call it a Cinderella story of sorts. But I'll save the emotional baggage stuff for later. For now, I know a lot. I'm going to fulfill the first part of this, which is I'm going to show you all my swag because this is going to actually take a while. Now, the first one was actually a story that I haven't fully and completely flipped through per se quite yet. But essentially, what it is that it's called Fairy Quest Outlaws. I still have not finished this yet. I kind of skimmed through it, I must confess. But what I did, but what I have gathered from this is that it's pretty much imagine all the fairy tale characters, but like they're outlaws. Like a lot, like the Big Bad Wolf and Little Red Riding Hood, Little Jack Horner, etc. And they're all pretty much, and it's made by Boom Studios, if you can't tell by the back. But yeah, from what I gathered skimming through this, it's basically just it's basically Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf, and it's like the Woodsman and all these people, and it's like Hansel and Gretel and what have you. They're pretty much what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, the fairy tale characters are pretty much having their minds erased and their memories and so on and so forth. So it's like Little Red Riding Hood, the Big Bad Wolf, and all of them are basically outlaws. They're trying to outrun the government. Um, I probably should have read this first because I kind of stumbled a little bit on this, but it's an interesting book, and I think probably after I get done with this, I'll actually fully read it. Because I kind of just packed all my books up because I didn't want to leave stuff sprawling out. But I will get around to reading a lot of these con books and comics and stuff now. Of course, Free Comic Day, they were giving out free comics at the convention. One of them is the New 52, and it is actually from Future's End. It's kind of set, yeah, it's set in the future. It's like an alternate future, I guess you could say, possibly Batman Beyondish, because you got Terry's suit in there and what have you. It's the whole brother eye taking over the universe. So you got that, free comic. This one is interesting. I might actually pick this up as a series, but I believe it's pronounced Rye. It's like the fourth printing, but R-A, I, and it's from Valiant, and it's actually their first issue. And this to me was kind of really cool. I liked this because the best way that I can describe it is Blade Runner meets Samurai Jack. It's like a much darker version of Samurai Jack, to be exact. But this guy right here, the main character, Rai, I'll call him Rai for now until somebody can correct me in the comments. But Rai is basically a cyborg samurai. He's a Bushido in a Blade Runner-esque future. And he pretty much is a cyborg that, like I said, he follows the way of the Bushido. He follows the way of the samurai. And what's interesting is that you would think, okay, he's got a laser katana. No, he has an actual authentic katana that he uses. But it has been hermetically, sharpened to the point that it could slice a robot clean in half. This dude literally, I'm stumbling for words to really describe this because because this isn't a futuristic Japan. That's one thing that, obviously, by looking at the art and looking at the cover, this is based in a future Japan. And Japan basically has lifted out of Earth because the lower levels of Earth have been contaminated due to radiation and many different exposures, and the Earth is kind of cracked a little bit below, so some continents are floating, well above in the sky. And Rai is actually, at the end of this issue, spoiler alert, he falls out of the city of Tokyo, or New Tokyo. So basically, that's part of a form of punishment in New Tokyo, is that you're basically thrown off of the city to the ground below. So yeah, basically Tokyo in this Blade Runner future is actually floating above, the Japanese continent that we know today. So, very cool series. I will definitely have to pick that up because I found that very interesting, and I found it very entertaining on top of that. And I'm going to actually show a, Kaboom comics still as a graphic novel, and this guy's is actually Charles Schultz, Peanuts. I do have a Peanuts book. This was actually one of the items, guys, or one of the few that was in a TARDIS bag that I have behind me. Matter of fact, actually, let me go grab that. But yeah, it's like I got a Peanuts book, and the reason why they gave us a Peanuts book is that had to do with the Harvey Awards. That was one of the swag grab bag deals. And they gave us TARDIS bags at the Harvey Awards because I went to I believe the it's the 9th annual Harvey Awards. And let me tell you guys, oh crap. Everything is kind of falling back behind me. Yeah, let me see if I can actually show this. Yeah, you can't tell because it's kind of folded up right now and crunched, so let me try to hold this back a little bit. Yeah, see, this was the grab bag that they gave us at the Harvey Awards. I mean, let me sit it in my chair. It's like, look at the depth of this thing. It's freaking huge. But that was part of a grab bag that they gave us at the Harvey Awards. And try to put this all back up here. if I can. If you can hear like stuff rustling around, that's me trying to fight to get everything to stand back up like it was. And failing, obviously. But, you know what, I'll fix that when I'm done with this video. I'll fix it when I'm done with the video. But yeah, we got a peanut still because at the Harvey Awards, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, I got to be part of a very special honor. Now, one book, I am not a fan of this series, but I've heard people talk good things about it. I have not read it yet, but I probably more than likely will. But you guys, of course, know it. Afterlife with Archie. I have to laugh at this because it looks like the cover of Jughead just literally looks like, you know, Michael Jackson in the Thriller video. It's freaking hysterical. But I will I have not sadly read this, but I will actually read it after I'm done. I've never really been a big fan of Archie, guys, so if you're an Archie fan, no disrespect, but I never could get into Archie. Now this one I do actually want to read, and it's from Arcadia Comics, and it's called Interesting Drug. And this I'm really intrigued to actually read, because it's basically a guy from the future recruits an average store clerk named Andrew Smith to create a drug that allows users to travel through time. However, Andrew uses it to try to erase his problems, and he finds out that he becomes an unwitting drug kingpin, so people are basically going back in time and trying to alter history and what have you. I'm intrigued to read that. And now we get, guys, into a couple of comics, actually, that I had picked up from some of the vendors, and a lot of these were from a storefront that was actually selling these. They had them marked like at 50% off or so. So a lot of these I got for like $5 and $6, which is crazy. But the first one that I got, simply because got to show love to the ladies. Always got to respect the female characters. Is Harold's, and I'm really looking forward to actually busting this bad boy out and reading it. The story behind this, for those of you who don't know, it was a 5-issue miniseries. And Harold's is basically it talks about, okay, Frankie Ray's Nova. What happened to her? What happened to her when she was struck down, in battle, like during, I guess this presumably ties into Annihilation, or Annihilation Conquest. And it says, with a mysterious flash in the nighttime sky, her presence is again felt. And on this case is a group of the Marvel characters' most powerful superheroines. Emma Frost of the X-Men, Jen Walters, a.k.a. She-Hulk, Valkyrie, Patsy Walker, a.k.a. Hellcat, Renee Rambeau, also known as Photon, and Abigail Brand, the leader or lead agent of SWORD. And all these women are basically combining to work together because apparently when this flash that people think is Frankie Ray, it causes a massive blackout at a storage facility that SWORD owns. Also affected by the cataclysmic event is a waitress named Frances, I'm just going to spell out her last name, Hyatt. She's found in a catatonic state after going inexplicably berserk. As the flash impact continues to be felt, the question is, can they uncover why it's connected to Frankie Ray? I've always said, guys, that female characters in comics should get more series. This was one that I'm looking forward to actually reading. Not just because it features female heroines, but also it just seems like a cool story. It's cosmic based. And this one should actually appease to one of my fellow 2K14 writers, Mr. Brian, Kersey. And the reason why I say it appeals to him is because it's actually a teenage team that he's writing for the Marvel Universe 2K14 site. Which I was so glad that I was able to find this, but I actually found a graphic novel of Young Allies. I immediately saw this and I'm like, I'm grabbing this because this is too good an opportunity not to grab. I'm always looking, guys, to grab like brand new like comics, especially series that deal with characters that aren't really talked about very much. I got Young Allies, so I'm looking forward to reading into that too. Got a solo comic that was done by Paul Pulp from, First Second, which is called the Invincible Haggard West, which is a final issue. It's apparently the death issue of the character. So this is very interesting to me. Very much interesting. Um, so I will definitely read this because seems rather interesting, even though it's like the final issue. So always trying new things, guys. This one I just about almost had to change my pants. And I was so happy to find this because you very rarely see these characters mentioned, let alone like stories that revolve around them. But Darkstar and the Winter Guard. I was like, yes. I'm like showing some love, guys, to Russia's version of the Avengers. Ursa Major, Crimson Dynamo, Darkstar, and Red Guardian. Their version of Captain America. I thought that's so freaking cool that there's actually a trade that deals with like I said, Russia's version of the Avengers. That in and of itself, guys, should tell you something. And of course, I picked up Heroes for Hire, but this version of Heroes for Hire, guys, was the most recent iteration, which was the Colleen Wing and Misty Knight led Heroes for Hire. Yes, the same Heroes for Hire that Felicia Hardy, aka Black Cat, and Shang-Chi, the Master of Kung Fu, it actually was a part of. And I thought that was so freaking cool. So very cool that I was able to find this. And plus, Doctor Doom kind of looks like a pervert on this cover, doesn't he? He really does. Plus the Charlie's Angel vibe that you're getting from Felicia, Black Tarantula. Or at least I think or maybe it's just Tarantula. I think it's just Tarantula. I think it's just Tarantula. And then, you got Colleen and Misty, the Daughters of the Dragon. Once again, always cool. Now, this I did read. And this, I think, has now become one of my favorite Valiant series. Like, just right off the bat. But the first volume of Quantum and Woody. Holy crap! Was this entertaining? For those of you who don't know much about Valiant or its series, Quantum and Woody is basically... The story behind it is that it's basically about these two brothers, these two adoptive brothers, or rather, one of them is adopted, which is Woody. Woody is the white guy that you see right here. He's actually adopted by Quantum, who is his father was a nuclear physicist, and it's like Quantum has military training. Woody was basically a slacker, a womanizer, and a con man. And what makes it hilarious is that the two of these try to find out what happened to their father. And what ended up happening is they get caught in a quantum decelerator machine that genetically alters their makeup. That these two bands that they're wearing on their wrist, they basically, after a couple of hours, if they don't make physical contact, like cling the bracelets together, they're basically going to become deatomized because their entire quantum physical structure is based on, pretty much they have to rely on each other. Like they basically balance each other out, kind of like yin and yang, which I thought was a very cool concept to use, and it leads to hilarity. They mastering their powers. At first, it's like Woody's all about like blasting the shit out of stuff, and Quantum is more about being reserved. It's like, hey man, we need to use these powers, for good. I probably shouldn't have cursed right there, but still, it's like I'm just saying, it's like he wants to blow stuff up. And yes, they have a goat. I laughed at this at first. They explain why they have a goat. And I've jokingly called this the battle goat. Because this goat, when it gets released, it starts tearing through bad guys. I mean, literally, you see blood spurting across the screen when this thing is first introduced. It was freaking hysterical. Now, this I did buy, and this was a heavy sucker. This thing is over $100, but I managed to only get it for $50, which that to me was a pretty good deal, all things considered. And this is probably the proudest book that I was able to buy, which is The Women of Marvel, celebrating 7 decades of female Marvel Comics characters. And I love the cover. Of course, right off the bat, I'm going to go from the lower end. You got Firestar, Angelica Jones, Allison Blair, the Dazzler, with the disco ball. It's her original look. Hellcat, Tigra, Storm, She-Hulk, Jean Grey in her original green outfit with the yellow mask. The cartoon-looking girl is Millie the model. Then you got Sheena the She-Devil. I have no idea who the nurse is supposed to be. You got Janet Van Dyne at the top, the Wasp in her almost classic Avengers look. The girl right between her and Sheena is actually Natasha Romanoff, so you got Black Widow on there. Obviously She-Hulk, and then you got Photon. I have not made a dent in this book, guys. Like, look at how thick this is. I am no way in hell am I going to get through this in less than a week, and I'm okay with that because it's going to be an enjoyable experience. And the next couple were actually in the TARDIS bag. They were also in the TARDIS bag, but also going through a mixture and stuff. Wonder Woman Ends of the Earth. I felt so bad because that Sunday at the convention was the last time I was going to see Gail Simone. And I really felt bad because I wanted her, because it would have been cool to get her to sign this. On top of that, oh my God, I have to tell a funny story about this. Because they also packed in Secret 6. Here's the funny story behind this. Months ago, at least last year or so, I had wanted to pick this particular trade up. Money was a little tight around that time. And I never got to buy it, and I never could find this again. Lo and behold, the sheer irony, this same book that I had wanted to buy, I end up getting in that TARDIS bag for the Harvey Awards. I'm holding on to this in the Wonder Woman hopefully till I meet Gail again, because I really want to get these signed. Yeah, I thought that was funny. It's like the Secret 6 book that I had wanted to try to find that I should have bought that day. How ironic, I ended up getting it in a grab bag. Now this one I did buy. Once again, this was marked off, and this was so cool to me. But because this was an obscure team that I really wanted to actually get a book for, and that was these guys. I finally have a trade or so dealing with the Agents of Atlas. You have no idea, guys, how happy this actually makes me that I was able to find this. Because you can barely, if not ever, find anything with Agents of Atlas. Finding books, especially used from third-party sellers on Amazon, is a pain in the ass to try to find. So I was through the frickin' moon when I actually found that. And I realized that some of you guys are getting bored. You know, bear with me. I actually have not too many other books here, and then I'll show you my art and some of the signed books that I got. This also made me happy because this was a character that I really wanted to try to find some books on and couldn't. I ended up actually, ironically, finding a tie-in to Assault on New Olympus for this guy, and it was during Greg Pak's run, which makes me happy. But I finally have a book with Herc, like his solo series. I've been trying to find an Incredible Hercules book, or at least like 2 of them. Sure enough, you know, I found this, and it was only like $4 or $5. It's like you can't beat that. You know, it's like you truly can't beat the fact that I actually found frickin' Herc. They were selling a lot of books, and the store that was selling them, yeah, they were selling them for like Post-it notes. They're like, yeah, we're putting Post-it notes as like 5 or 6 or 8 or anything. Now the same one that I bought the Women of Marvel for, I also have a funny story behind this one. Because I found the 25th anniversary of Mark Guggenheim's run on the Squadron Supreme. Let me tell you the funny story behind this. I had this ordered from Amazon. They were trying to get it through warehouse deals. I could not find it. They would not ship it out for 3 straight months. Finally, I gave up. I canceled it. I figured I'll probably never get it. I'll have to end up buying it used or something. Go to the con. Only $30. $30. Once again, I'm through the moon. Because now I finally have that, and if I decide to on 2K, I might actually read through that, and I might do like a mini or something dealing with the Squadron Supreme, because, got to show some love for the obscure characters. And speaking of obscure, this was another Post-it noted book, and I immediately snatched this before anybody else grabbed it. It was the only copy left that was actually on the rack. Well, that's a lie. It wasn't the only copy, but it was like the last of like maybe 2 or 3. And ironically, I could have got this signed by Jim Starlin since he was there at the convention, but the death of the New Gods. I now actually have a much more recent transaction of the Forever people. So it's like I actually get the death of the fourth world, essentially, which that was kind of cool to find. You don't find very many like Jack Kirby related stuff. And speaking of the King, we know that Dynamite Comics has done the Kirby Genesis stuff. I actually found 2 of these. One was Captain Victory, the other was Silver Star. I immediately snatched these up because they were the only frickin' books from the Kirby Genesis that were actually on display. The only 2. This was the only copy that was left. This was like one of 2 copies that was left. I snatched these, as you can imagine, and almost practically peed myself with joy. For obvious reasons. Need I say more? Now that's all for the books I've been able to pull out of one tote. Now let me carefully, I'm going to actually pull this down, I'm going to show the artwork afterwards. If I can move my shoe out of the way, because I got shoes actually blocking my way. Now let me try to work the tote here. I really probably should organize this into like a set of videos. Yeah, I'll probably set this to... I probably should have set this actually to another time, but you know, I may just do like a separate video talking about like the experience, about the experiences. This is like an overall view, and then I may just do like webcam uploads. I realize that that sounds a bit excessive, but still, I'm just saying. So let's get into the swag, the other swag, like art book related stuff. I won't unfold this, but this was actually a t-shirt that I got from some art that you're going to see in a little bit. This was actually a free t-shirt related to a comics company. They're like one of their characters actually called, I think Toro was the character's name, which is like this Aztec or Mayan like version of like Rambo or something. I will sadly admit that I forgot what the character actually looked like, but this was basically the character's emblem. It's like, you know, a Samoan or Incan or Mayan, you know, kind of exuberant sign, shall we say. You know, nothing wrong with that. And the official Comic-Con 2014 shirt, which I will keep in the bag, actually featured Matt Wagner's Grendel. That was the theme this year. Actually, on my keys, I got a keychain that's like the Grendel face, but it's like red. It's like a red symbol keychain. So yeah, you got the official VIP T-shirt, because I did get the VIP deal. Now this I keep going back to. When I was at the Harvey Awards, they had a deal where every single person sitting at the table got a collectible DC Comics shot glass. Mine was Hal Jordan, which I don't care what anybody says. I just think that that's cool that they actually gave us collectible shot glasses to actually put with all of our stuff. You know, words fail me to describe how awesome that was. That, you know, it's like, because I even asked him, like, okay, are these collectible? And I remember I had, you know, Brian J.O. Glass, or Brian Glass, as I just simply call him for short. I remember, like, yeah, it's like his wife Judy, you know, Judy Glass, just looked at me and she goes, yeah, she goes, throw it in your bag. I'm like, yoink. It was fun, though, guys. It was, to me, truly fun, you know, to be able to get a shot glass with Hal Jordan on there, you know, and I'll keep it as a collectible. And I speak of VIP, guys. Here's actually the VIP pass that I wore all of the days. I thought that this was cool. I actually got the spare keychain deal, but here's the actual tag that I got to wear as a VIP all 3 days of the convention. That to me was, that's so cool looking. And then here's the little badge, you know, to signify to people that, you know, I was at the Harvey Awards. I kept the name badge, you know, because it meant a lot to me. 7 p.m. dinner, 8 p.m. ceremony, 9 p.m. Ah, see, I didn't even realize that at 7 they had cocktails. That would have been cool. Dinner was at 8 itself. I'm like, now I'm looking at the back of this. That's pretty sad. But also got a bookmark for a series based on actual history. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name of it, but it is a series that dealt with this backstory according to the guy who actually did it. It was about a general during like imperial or colonial or the colonial days, like in America, was like over in like China. There was a general who had fought like 20 or 21 wars, never been defeated in any of them. That was freaking incredible to actually hear that somewhere in history that actually happened. And I actually moving on to I met Joel from Mystery Science Theater, which I have the picture of on my Facebook. But what made me laugh is that he misspelt my name on the certificate because it's with a PH, not a V. But it was still kind of funny that, yeah, I got a certificate making me an official, mystery scientist, joining, a club and learning the secret handshake, which I will not share with anybody, because I feel like that's special thing. The pamphlet for the Harvey Awards, which, if anybody is in the Baltimore area and you have the extra money to go to the Harvey Awards, do it. Because I thought, okay, it's going to be like at a school auditorium, it's going to be boring. No, it was probably one of the most like touching and most exciting experiences or ceremonies that I could ever be a part of. Not just as a comic book fan, but as somebody who aspires to be a writer and want to break into the business. It was very inspiring to hear a lot of the stories and stuff, which I'll get into probably in a little bit. I feel very proud of this. For anybody who's a wrestling fan, you feel a little bit jealous, don't feel bad. I was completely taken aback by the fact that I got to meet Jerry the King Lawler at like Sunday. I'm walking around. A lot of people say, "Oh, Jerry's such a jerk," is this and that. And I looked at him and I went, "Really?" It's like my experience with Jerry was actually very fun. It's like Jerry, Jerry was very polite. He seemed a little bit exhausted, but it was fun to talk with him and hear old wrestling stories. And when I got my picture taken with him, just to make everybody else jealous, if you check my Facebook, guys, I actually have a picture where he placed the crown on my head and then posed with me. So that words can't describe, guys, how freaking awesome that moment was. Because while I am a comic fan, I am also a wrestling fan. I grew up with wrestling, so to meet a legend of wrestling and get my picture with him, to me that made me feel on cloud nine. I do want to actually show these art pieces off because I thought that these were cool, and if I ever meet the guy who did these, I want to buy more cards because they were awesome. But there was this guy doing like these hand-picked cards and what have you. And he actually drew, inked, and everything, so I actually got like 3 cards. I got Darkhawk, Chris Powell, and then I got the one who knows. I got Starhawk on the other side. And he was doing a lot of obscure characters just to see if people could actually, buy them. And I also got Sleepwalker. So for those of you who follow me on 2K, it's like, yeah, I got a member of Mystic Defenders, I got a member of the old version of the Guardians, and I got pretty much, Darkhawk, who, for those of you who follow 2K14, I basically got a member of my Avengers roster, so how freaking cool is that? 2 members for 2 teams that I actually write. But still, it's fun to get the obscure characters out there. And pick up my tickets here for all 3 events because I kept the tickets. Felt I had to take the tickets, and I got a couple of cards. I got business cards for people and whatnot, and because I paid for the graphic novel and stuff, I also did get little collectible stickers for the frickin' dill. For the graphic novel. For the Japanese one. Hold on, I'm circling through these guys. It's like I got I got the books. It's like I'm showing you the art stuff. I may, guys, just because this is lasting a little longer than I actually thought, I may actually do like a part 2 here, like make this part 1, or like, put part 2, because I think I should split this up, guys. You may agree with it, you may not, but I'm going to split this up. I'm going to show you the books, which I did. Well, actually, I showed you most of the books that I bought. I'm going to show you the artwork, and then I'm going to show you the books that I got signed. And then part 2 is going to be me talking about the con verbatim and what my experience was like, because I don't want to make this a 4-hour like affair. So this is going to be the longest part of the two-parter. I'm going to be showing, I showed you the books that I got, going to show you the artwork, and then I'm going to show you the books that I got signed. Well, actually, you know what? Part 2 will be the signed books and the stories. So let me wrap this actually up, and then I'll go to part 2, guys. And you'll like it. I think you'll like it. I'll make a part 2. Now, this was the official yearbook. Wait, is this a? Yeah, this was the official yearbook that came with our VIP package. Yeah, this was an exclusive black and white like cover. And I'll flip through here, and they actually had a scavenger hunt where you found, or if you found and got all of the artists like signed, you could get like special, exclusive cover variants, which I thought was actually kind of fun, and show you some of the artwork here with some of these pages, if I can. Hopefully I won't have to damage this. And it has a strange vinyl smell, which makes my head a little like, woo. Yeah, and the deal was that if you found the scavenger hunts, you actually could get special variant covers, which I thought was kind of cool in its own right. Variant issues of your choice. Still, thought it was great, thought it was cool. Now, these to me are kind of personal, guys. When I went to the Friday night reception for the Comic-Con, because they now have a Friday or Saturday night reception, which you get to meet, the creators and stuff, and you get to hang out at a fancy 4-star hotel right across from the convention center that I just refer to as the Regency. You get to go to what's called the Pisces Room, which is a rooftop like conference hall / penthouse. And I showed some pictures of that on my Facebook, and I gotta tell you guys, being up there, it's a very small room, but being surrounded by comic greats and just artists and writers in general, as a fan, it's very daunting. But I'll get into that in the next video when I'm explaining stories. But the very first person I actually met, and I'll actually show you this. This is actually the colored variant. This was the extra yearbook that they gave us. Like, I'm not even joking about that. Same frickin' yearbook. It's the same frickin' yearbook, guys. Absolute same yearbook. No differentiation. I'll even show you. Let me see if I can find a page. See? Same yearbook. I just showed this image. Same frickin' yearbook. They gave us basically like an extra yearbook, which I'm like, okay. The very first person, minus, the fact that the variant is that, okay, it's got a colored version of Grendel. Here's what makes this unique. Is this right here. Now you're asking, okay, Steve, why is Scarecrow in there? Well, I'm going to at least tell you, this is one of the few stories I can at least tell you. When I was at the Friday night reception, the very first person that I met was artist Brandon Peterson. For those of you who've read the Age of Ultron stories, that's his art that you're looking at. I actually jokingly, and I'm going to feel bad for saying this because I will, of course, tag Brandon with a lot of people. I thought Brandon was a staff member Until like he said, "Oh yeah, they said that we're not supposed to sketch in here, but it's like, what do you want me to sketch for?" And I was like, "Wait a minute, you're an artist?" I said, "Not a staff member." He goes, "No, I'm an actual like artist." And I felt bad because I didn't know who the hell he was, but he went out of his way to help me around the reception and stuff. But like I said, I'll get into that in part two here. But yeah, this sketch, guys, as he was talking to me, he was sketching this out because he was asking me, "What character do you want sketched?" And I told him, I said, "I have no freaking clue, man." I said, "I got no clue." I'm like, and we started, and somehow we got to Batman villains, and he goes, "Okay, who's your favorite Batman villains?" And I said, "Oh yeah," I said, "Oh, Mr. Freeze and Scarecrow, without a doubt, are my top two." He goes, "Okay, let's do Scarecrow." This right here, guys, is the Scarecrow that he actually did in this yearbook. I literally looking at this, I can't say anything absolutely with greater positivity than that. That made me through the moon. Basically my first sketch, my first piece of art is from a copy yearbook, and he sketched this as you just saw there, such a great like scarecrow image. And it was so cool. And I asked him, I said, "Man," I said, "you sketched that fast." And I said, "You managed to just like," and I love what he said. And it's both as an articulate point and as a joke. He goes, "Yeah," he goes, "Scarecrow is actually one of the easiest to draw because he doesn't have any real distinguishing features. He's pretty much easy to draw. You can draw a noose, you can draw the burlap sack and stuff in his eye and the hat." And I was like, yeah. But Brandon actually, that Sunday, he goes, I'm glad that you actually swung by." He goes, "because I want to give you something." And I looked at him and I said, and he grabbed this right here, which is the Marvel Remastered, which basically he took a whole bunch of art pieces and like covers and whatnot, and it's artwork that is remastered by him. Let me show you what I mean. And when I saw this especially, just like, look at that. That is such a freaking awesome cloak and dagger. I My face looks a little creepy, but it's just seriously, I'm blown away by that. Oh crap. I feel bad because I'm trying not to bend the spine on this, and it's just like going backwards, and I'm like, "No, don't get damaged." And it's like, yeah, it's like a lot of this, guys, is actually like artwork that he's remastered, but it's also artwork that he's done. And anything that's remastered, he's actually like put on there, remastered by, Brandon Peterson. But all of his original artwork is actually signed in there, and a lot of it, guys, I found out he actually did the covers for War of Kings. And let me see if I can actually find that, guys, because that tripped me out. And he's also done covers for Avengers and whatnot. Yeah, he did a lot of the Deathlock covers, which I thought was cool. Let me see if I can find it. He did do Ultimate Comics, because for those of you who remember the Ultimate still, it's like, remember this cover? Brandon Peterson actually did that. Well, he did that after Zach. Billy Zach, I think, was who it was. It's like, yeah, he makes it known. I'm trying to find the War of Kings image. Yeah, the cover to the War of Kings graphic novel. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know if this is a reprint of that cover. No, it's actually, remember War of Kings? This cover is actually Brandon Peterson's artwork. I thought that was so cool. I'm trying not to bend the. I'm scared to bend that I'm bending the spine to this because I really don't want it to. I'm scared that I'm going to damage this book because this book actually does mean a lot because he handed this guys to me for free. This is like 30, 40, practically almost $50. And you're asking, "Oh my god, he handed it to you?" Well, he handed it to me as a gift and he personalized it, which I watched him actually do this, but he actually drew a side profile of Dr. Stephen Strange. I literally looked at him and I was speechless. I didn't know what to say, guys. And how could you say anything? I mean, that's not only the ultimate thing that could make a fan's first convention, but it's also something that is very touching and very meaningful. You know, that really makes a fan like me actually want to come back, if not actually, like you more. So it was a big form of flattery, but also it was his thank you because he actually got quite bored at the convention. So like I came by and like bugged him every once in a while, and he would always smile because he goes, you're probably the one person who keeps returning back to my booth. He goes, I have very few people that actually want to sit there and talk to me while I'm sketching. He goes, I'm actually glad that you kept coming by and actually bugging me the whole entire 3 days. He goes, because sometimes it gets very boring sitting here behind the booths. So that was kind of his way of saying, thanks and, for, I guess, not just as a fan, but just as a person, just like coming by and keeping him company. I realize that sounds very sappy, but it's true. But, yeah. Anybody who follows, Brandon Peterson on Twitter, warn him that if I actually show up next year, I have a commission sketch that I want him to do. And it will be one of those from that actual book. Now, I'm gently pulling on this, guys, because I have a lot of prints and stuff. Some aren't really protected, which I'll need to buy, protectors for next year, because these are the actual art pieces, guys. This is actual legit art that I bought. But first, it's like Brandon Peterson gave me a book. This really touched me as well because I met Dave Bullock, guys. For those of you who are actual fans of Justice League New Frontier, or whoa, had the art pieces slide. For those of you who are fans of New Frontier, Dave Bullock is the guy who actually did the art for that, and I love Dave Bullock's art. It's got a very cool, animated but heroic, feel to it. But this touched me because Dave Bullock actually gave me one of his pamphlets from a couple of years ago, and he actually personally signed it. This is like a mini sketchbook, done on parchment paper and stuff. And how cool is that? The front cover is the Rocketeer, and I'm not going to show you the back because the back is kind of a sexy pinup. But yeah, you got the Rocketeer, and I'm going to thumb through this and actually, show you guys art from New Frontier, his version of the Suicide Squad and Supergirl. And this in and of itself is like $30 at the minimal. Dave Bullock's mini sketches of Boston Brand, Dead Man. I thought that was kind of cool. He did mini Marvel masterpiece stills, a cover of Justice League, a sketch, pencil sketches of Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, and of course, good old Steve Rogers. You couldn't ask for anything more. And how about these Red Sonja sketches? I could go on showing you this entire sketchbook, but I'm not. But I thought that was very cool. He gave me a mini sketchbook of his various art, and he joked with me. He goes, just to be in competition with Brandon, which I thought was so freaking funny. I'm like, oh boy, Marvel DC war. It's like Brandon Peterson versus Dave Bullock, Marvel versus DC. I'm just like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. I started laughing to myself. Guys, I actually have to do a little bit of shameless promotion because these guys were so cool. But if you ever go to a convention and they're actually there, please find their Facebook page and like it. They're called Rare Earth Comics, which they come up with which Ian, one of their like head writers or head people in editorial, excuse me, he did a comic series called Shadow Tracers, which I might show in the signed books, in the next video or so. But he did that. He did a series of, where the world was actually flat, the sea ran out and stuff like that. I feel bad because I forgot what the second series was supposed to be. But there was also the fact that they were doing sketches. Pencil sketches were $25. This was really cool because I actually got, hold on, let me move it here. Yeah, I actually got a Daredevil sketch. And they jokingly tried to get a sketch from 2K, and I told them, I said, I'd prefer a regular sketch. I said, I don't want anything from our site being like sketched out. I said, maybe another time we might be able to contact these guys, but I just want a regular sketch. And you can't see it because it's right there, but if you see a circle that's supposed to be the moon, it's supposed to be Matt, like hanging upside down using his billy club, which I thought was so cool, and it's at nighttime. And the reason why I say like their Facebook page, guys, because if you like their Facebook page and you show them that you favorited their Facebook page, they will actually give you a free print, and it's a free colored print, and mine was of Logan fighting ninjas, which I'm presuming is the hand, which looks so freaking cool, doesn't it? I thought that was such a cool, art piece. Logan truly is the best at what he does. And what he does, oftentimes, can be very, very messy. Now, I mentioned Dave Bullock's artwork. Yes, I did, guys. I did get Dave Bullock artwork because like I said, I love his artwork a lot. I almost wanted to cry with this. Let me hold it up straight while you... Yeah, it's kind of wide, but... Yeah, well, you guys don't need to see my ugly mug for a moment here, but look at this Justice League sketch. This makes me want to cry, because this is such a beautiful Justice League sketch to me. But equally as great, guys. I'm trying to see, yeah. But equally as great was Dead Man. I looked at this and I'm like, I want this Dead Man print. It's like that just to me looked so cool. You can't ask for anything better. Well, you could, but you probably would need to have the crap smacked out of you. And if you hear duping and the light keeps going on and off, I have my Xbox on. I didn't talk about that because it's for obvious reasons. Now this I want to talk about because these are cool. The same guy that I showed you the cards for earlier, he actually had full body prints, and I had to get this matte sketch. This matte sketch just looks so freaking cool. Oh my god, does it look cool. But I got one even better, and this to me, I tell people is my absolute favorite art piece. I looked at this and I told the girl, I said, I'm buying this print. But it's the trifecta of Spider-Man. Noir Pete. Trying to move my finger here. Noir Pete, 616 Pete, and at the very bottom, Miguel O'Hara, the Spider-Man of 2099. This was my absolute favorite art piece. that they had. I was gravitating towards this because how can you not like this image? This is such. If you're a Spidey fan, this is such a cool image to actually have. Cool piece of artwork. And I'll show one later, and I'm gonna tell the tragic tale of what happened to it. But I have another art piece by that guy, which I'm actually going to find right now. Collectible poster, of course, for, like I said, that Chinese series, which I also have it signed by the guy who did the series. Let me see if I can find this, because I want to explain. Yeah, I want to explain this travesty. Not because it's a bad art piece, but just because there's a little tiny rip, like right here where my finger's at. There's a little tiny rip, like right here, which made me feel sad, because it was one of my first art pieces that I actually had bought. But let me show you guys without it having too much heavy glare, but look at that. The Big G himself. I looked at that and I told the girl, I said, told the girl behind the counter, I said, I could be fine with these two prints. I said, but you know what? Throw in this Galactus one. I said, because this is too good a print not to grab as a piece of artwork. I said, that Galactus print is just too freaking cool. Yeah, so I got basically artwork of the Big G, as well. So I love that Galactus print, and I felt so badly when I saw the tear on it. Now, for those of you who follow color artists, I actually got artwork from one of the fastest color artists in the biz, which is Mr. Christopher or Chris. And I'm sorry if I'm going to mess up his name. I know that I'm going to. Which is Sotomir or Sotomayor. I feel really bad because I'm so sucky with pronunciation that he literally, the next time I see him, he goes, "This is how you pronounce my last name." But I need to get a protector for these. If I go to the con, I'm buying a protector just for these two pieces because they're actually really cool and really nice, and I don't want them messed up. But one is of Marvel's Trinity. The main three Avengers, Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, and the God of Thunder himself. I looked at this and I told him, I said, I like this Avengers print. I said, I may have to get that. I said, but you know what? This also called my name as well, which is an Amazing Spider-Man cover. It's like, look at that. I bought it because Cloak and Dagger were in it, and because it also had Luke and Danny. But it's like, you also got Ben, you got Pete, you got, obviously because it's an Amazing Spider-Man cover, you got Steve, and you got Wolverine in the background. I said, you can't beat that kind of artwork, guys. Truly, it speaks for itself. And I believe the artist's name was Dave Foley, but Dave something, I think it was Dave Foley. But he had 3 prints, and I'm going to show the one that I don't much care for, but I still thought it was cool to have it anyway, which is New 52 Ollie, so New 52 Green Arrow, which I liked that. I thought it was cool. Now these two I bought a spare protective cover, which I was glad that I did, because I eventually put these two in there. On one side, Spidey, which I like this Spider-Man. I thought this Spider-Man was really cool. And then you flip it on the other side, almost like a mural rocket of, Rocket Raccoon. You can't beat that. I love it, guys. I really do. I absolutely love it. But I'm going to show the last bit of art, guys, and then I'm going to end the video to this because I realize that it's been pretty long. But Mark Morales was, showing prints. So I met inker and artist Mark Morales, and this was one of the two prints that I bought. This was the second print that I actually bought from him. And I did buy it because Simon Williams is in it, that Wonder Man's in the shop, but I liked this. I thought this was a cool, classic, Avengers cover. Very iconic, very heroic looking. Now, this one was the first print, and I told him straight up that I was going to actually buy this. But a Guardians of the Galaxy cover, have Tony in his armor. I looked at him and I said, I gotta be honest, I have to buy this print just because it's Rocket Raccoon punching out Deadpool for cheating at cards. The image speaks for itself. It really does. But I'm gonna put all these back up, guys, and I'm then going to move over to the signed books, and I'm going to talk about all the books that I got signed, and I'm also going to be telling general stories. So I'm going to stop this broadcast, and then I'm going to open a separate broadcast that's going to be part 2. So stay tuned for the second part of the broadcast, and I think you guys will like it. It probably might actually be... I probably might end up doing this till I have to go to bed, because I'm looking at the clock, and where I'm at right now at the ending of this broadcast, it's now like 9 o'clock. So with that, guys, I'm going to stop the broadcast. I'm going to leave it right here. And then I'm going to open another deal and make a secondary broadcast. So with that, guys, I will see you in part 2. And, yeah.